Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Coop Radio, episode 17. Back at it again, coming off the week of Michigan, a very interesting week of racing that we will get to here in a bit. I want to go ahead and quickly thank everybody for tuning in. Hope you all have been enjoying the last couple of episodes that we've been doing. I've obviously been enjoying doing them myself. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. But let me start the show with this. I wanted to talk about the passing of Ned Jarrett really quickly here to start the show. 93 years old. And obviously, it's a sad loss. We've been losing a lot of people this year in the NASCAR community. I think that was talked about here a bit this past week when we found out that Ned Jarrett passed away. But from Greg Biffle to Kyle Busch and now Ned, I think the unfortunate part about this is that with the previous two passings that we've had with Biffle and Kyle Busch, a lot more unexpected, obviously. One in a very tragic plane crash, and then the other one, obviously, tragically passing due to pneumonia. I'm not sure what the cause of Ned's passing is. I would assume as a 93-year-old, it's probably natural causes. That being said, I didn't feel like maybe this is just me. I didn't really see too much on Prime. Now, granted, I didn't watch the pre-race show, so I might have completely missed something in the pre-race. But I didn't really see a whole lot of talk about Ned Jarrett or a lot of people talking about Ned Jarrett since his passing this past week. And so I wanted to kind of sit and really remind everybody of, hey, I understand to a lot of newer fans, anybody who was born in the 2000s or even the 90s or anything like that, somebody who isn't, a super old fan, doesn't really know and understand how good Ned was himself. All you have to really do is take a look at his racing reference page and understand, oh, this is a very good driver who passed away. Multi-time champion in the Cup Series, won 50 races, which puts him in the top echelon of the sport's history. And I don't really want to say it was kind of swept under the rug. I don't think it was that far, but I mean, this is a guy who had, in 64 and 65 won 15 and 13 races respectively. Like I don't care about time frame or generation difference or whatever. Like, yeah, they ran almost, if not twice as many races as we do now. But winning that many races in a season and winning championships is not something to just ignore. It's a sad passing. Obviously, there's more so. A lot of people nowadays think of him as the broadcaster. Somebody who, for a period of time had some very legendary calls. Obviously, calling calling Dale Jarrett to the win at the Daytona 500. And maybe in a lot of people's eyes nowadays, not known as, because again, you don't live through that time period of listening to him in broadcasts or seeing him in races or anything like that. So it doesn't register with you, but I did want to at least take a moment here to acknowledge him and acknowledge the sad passing of Ned. So rest in peace to Ned. Like I said, passed away at 93. Somebody who, again, one of the best drivers that we've seen, one of the 75 best, for sure. So that being said, let's go ahead and shift to this. It's tough because it's like, at the same time, I want to acknowledge him more, but I'm also one of these people. I was born in the year 2000. I didn't live through the 60s and the 70s, and I wasn't I wasn't watching the races when he was broadcasting, as a, or was a broadcaster or a commentator. I didn't watch those races. So it's kind of tough to relate to somebody. So I understand the, oh, it's just some old guy, but it's still sad. It's still one of the best we've seen, a top end driver in the sport's history. But shifting to nowadays, let's talk about this. The silly season is obviously still underway of nowadays NASCAR. A lot of talk about who's going to go in certain places and certain rides and everything like that. And I feel as though it's appropriate now to finally start talking about who's going to take over Kyle Busch's ride. I waited a little bit, just trying to be respectful, but also due to the fact that there's been some stuff that has came out in this last week as people now are starting to speculate and talk about who they think is going to inevitably take over that now 33 car. And obviously, I think the two names that were thrown out, the two obvious ones were Austin Hill or Jesse Love, the two RCR guys who are sitting in the O'Reilly Series waiting for a cup opportunity. I think most people at this point would lean towards, if they were going to choose somebody, they would lean towards Jesse Love. He's shown more speed. He's now a former champion. He's won races, and out of the two RCR guys on a consistent basis, he seems across the board to be the faster of the two. Except, of course, super speedways and drafting tracks. That's the only exception. You take Austin Hill over Jesse Love there, but at every other track, you're going to take Jesse Love. But I think a telling point as far as where the direction of RCR is going to go with that 33 and really who I guess they would choose to take over that car, it was a very telling point that even after Charlotte, which I gave them, in my head, I would give them a grace period, RCR that is, of, if I'm not mistaken, it was already decided that before Kyle even passed away, heading into that Charlotte weekend, I believe Austin Hill was supposed to drive the 33 car anyways. So having him just drive Kyle's car instead and not showing up with an extra car and just having him run 33 made sense. And so, all right, you got to pick somebody in the moment. Austin Hill has technically had more time in a cup car than Jesse Love has. Just put somebody in there who's had the most seat time, at least for the week, and just get through that first week. That being said, as the weeks have gone on, there is no indication that Jesse is going to be in that 33 car at all for the rest of the season. It seems that it is going to be Austin Hill's for the rest of the year, just to run it out. And I think that point of not having Jesse in that car at all, to me, tells me one of two things. Either one, RCR does not have the confidence that Jesse would actually be better than Austin Hill in that car, which I don't see why they would come to that conclusion, which is why I more so think it's B, it's 2. Jesse's already kind of got one foot out the door and realized that I'm good enough, I believe, that if I got a call to be in a cup car, I'm going to go somewhere else and take that opportunity versus staying here in the O'Reilly Series where I kind of feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I've already won a Cup Series, or I've already won a championship here. I feel as though it's time for me to take that next step. And obviously anybody who finds success in the O'Reilly Series is going to want to take that next step. They're not going to want to be stuck and stagnant in the O'Reilly Series and not going anywhere. As I've discussed plenty of times on this show, and I discussed last week, not everybody gets that opportunity. But if you're going to be even given a hint, and even a sniff of a chance to drive a cup car, you're going to take it. It's a bump in pay. It's a bump in opportunity. And who knows, maybe that smaller end Cup team could turn into a bigger end Cup team and could turn into some actual success. So my feeling is that Jesse already had one foot out the door, especially hearing that the press conference that took place this past weekend, that Richard talked about in that press conference, saying that that was designed or was going to be the announcement for Kyle to stay in the 8, which maybe Kyle did really change that much, where he was okay with just being with a mid to low level team for the rest of his career, and just okay with running 10th, 5th at best, and most weeks outside the top 15. Like maybe he was just okay with that. And I just can't imagine him being okay with that. I can't imagine him accepting that as the end of his career for a longer period of time. And maybe priorities change, outlooks change, family changed him to the point where he was okay just, hey, I'm going to try to make this as best as I can and run this out as best I can, knowing and understanding that my focus is not on me and my career. It's more so, at this point, I'm just collecting a paycheck to try to pad the amount of money that I can pay for my kids and my kids' kids, and trying to help my family as best I can going forward. Meanwhile, focusing on my son's racing career and trying to help him as best I can, or trying to help my daughter as best as I can and whatever she pursues. Maybe he changed his outlook in that way, but I guess previously it was supposed to be that Kyle stayed, which is just a true shock to me. But now that he's no longer with us, and now that that seat is now open, now it's, well, is it going to be Jesse Love or Austin Hill, or is it possibly somebody else? I saw some rumors that I never thought I would see this past week, that there's a possibility that RCR number 33 could go to Noah Gragson. And out of all the names that I thought would be thrown out there for that car, Noah was not one of them. More so for the simple fact that I didn't really feel like there was true indication of front row being upset with him. Understandably, if there was, because there's just not been really any speed out of that car and out of him in the year and some change now that he's been there. But more so, it's more so the fact of front row, you never really think in your head, even though they've shown some more speed as of late with Zane Smith having a couple of good runs and finding some speed. Besides that, I mean, I don't really envision myself, or I don't see that team as like a contending team of any kind. I see them on the same level as a lot of these other bottom end teams still, even though they've got 3 cars there and they've got some guys who've obviously got some talent. I just don't imagine that team expecting a lot. That's why the Zane Smith recent success is like, oh my God, this is amazing for them. This is unbelievable. They're finding some speed out of nowhere, and that's great for them. So I never really imagined maybe next year. I kind of thought that they would have been fine with keeping Gragson for another year, and maybe if this really continued in next year, they would have considered taking an O'Reilly Series guy that's just kind of sitting down there stuck. They might take a chance on somebody down there that maybe could emerge in the next year or so, because again, you got to think Corey Heim was the obvious number 1 pick for a young prospect not in the Cup Series to try to go get. He's already snatched up. He's gone to 2311. Besides that, it's, some guys that I feel like maybe, and that is a big maybe, could work if given the opportunity into the Cup Series. the Sheldon Creeds, the Sammy Smiths, the Sam Mayers. I don't see them working, but maybe it's a nice long shot to give them an opportunity, and maybe they can figure it out quickly and be okay. But I didn't really see the point. It's the same thing I talked about on the last show, and as I've talked about on how many shows now already. There's this Cup Series, it feels like it's just gridlocked, where there's no openings. But I guess the opportunity for Gragson to move over to the 33 is something that was thrown out there. And I have an article here. I'm going to read off some things just to kind of give you more of an idea from sportskedia.com, friend of the show. Wrote, Noah Gragson to RCR, ? Young Gun's future hinges on silly season move as front row motorsport struggles mount. The Noah Gragson's NASCAR future has come into focus. The Noah Gragson's. I don't know why I said the. Gragson's NASCAR future is coming to focus as a speculation grows around a potential move to Richard Childress Racing, with Front Row Motorsports struggling for results and RCR holding an open seat following Kyle Busch's death. The 27-year-old has emerged as a possible candidate in the silly season chatter. Gragson's current situation at Front Row Motorsports has not helped his case after joining the team in 2025 as part of its expansion to a 3-car lineup. Results have remained limited. He's finished 34th in the standings last season with just one top 5 finish, and the trend has continued into 2026. 14 races into 26, he sits 29th with 202 points, over 100 points outside the playoff cut line, and has led just 2 laps. That lack of consistency has come as teammates Zane Smith and Todd Gillen have shown relative stability, keeping pressure on his number 4 Front Row Motorsports seat heading into the second half of the season. Now, following the death of Kyle Busch, Richard Childress Racing retired the number 8, replaced it with the number 33, creating a long-term opening within its Cup lineup. This is a quote from Bob Pockrass. He says, quote, if the car continues to have sponsorship from alcohol, THC, and nicotine pouches, that could require a driver who is 25 or older, as those companies typically want someone who doesn't look close to being underage. If Noah Gragson gets pushed out of Front Row, there might be potential here with his past Bass Pro Shops relationship. Noah Gragson carries multiple connections with RCR. His Bass Pro Shops backing aligns with RCR's long-standing sponsorship base. He also began his national level career with Kyle Busch Motorsports, a pipeline that has historically supported Chevrolet teams. Also, his early Cup opportunities came with Colleague Racing, which had operational ties to RCR, giving him familiarity with the team. Beyond sponsorship and history, his personality fits the mold RCR has often embraced. Gragson's outspoken and high-energy presence contrasts with the more reserved profiles of the recent RCR drivers. For a team looking to reset its identity, that factor holds value. At the same time, Front Row Motorsports is unlikely to retain Gragson, according to Pockrass. Smith remains secure after signing an extension, while Gilland is also expected to return. Any move involving Noah Gragson will depend on funding availability and whether Front Row Motorsports chooses to promote within, with names like Lane Riggs and Chandler Smith in the pipeline. Still, performance remains the deciding factor, and right now, Noah Gragson's results do not strongly justify a move to a team like RCR. A couple things to take away from that article. There's more that I'm going to read, but just off this first part, because they're going to go into something else here in a moment. Couple of things. One, is the performance there to justify an RCR move? No. Is RCR that good, though, that you can sit there and say, well, the performance isn't good, so he doesn't deserve an upgrade or something like that? That is also not true. We have seen for a couple years now, the 3 and the 8 have struggled mightily, and more so even longer. I mean, if you even want to go back into the annals of history, in all actuality, there has been this long, steady decline ever since 2001 that RCR has seen. They have never really been able to replace that loss in 2001, and every single year it has seemingly slowly declined, and the performance has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And I don't even think, I mean, people can say, well, Kevin Harvick never broke out until he left RCR. There's a reason why that the literal next year that he left RCR and went to Stewart-Haas, he won a championship. And he was one of the best guys that season. He's had seasons where he's won 10 races. And he never even dreamed of doing that at RCR. They've had people like Clint Boyer over there, Jeff Burton, Ryan Newman. Like the list goes on and on. Casey Mears was in there for a moment. Paul Menard was there forever. These are names that you don't exactly put great stock into as far as like, oh, these guys carried the load when they were with RCR. They were just okay at best, if not even okay. And I tend to more so agree that it would be more so the team than the drivers. I mean, this is the same Jeff Burton who's going to be in the Hall of Fame for winning a good amount of races. Clint Boyer himself, when he went to Michael Waltrip Racing, he had a lot more success there. Probably almost maybe should have won a championship in 2012. Winning multiple races that season, having great speed. So I don't think that it's the drivers. I think it was more so the team. Again, Kevin Harvick proves that point as well. So this steady decline has continued, and so that's why it's like, if they got Austin Hill in there, is it a great choice? No. Over these last couple of years, and I think really this year, my thoughts on Austin Hill have very much changed. I thought that there was a possibility a couple of years ago that you can't be so good at super speedway racing, and he did have times years ago where he ran decently at the 1.5 miles and the short tracks, and he had speed years ago. And so that's why it indicated to me, this is a guy who won a Truck Series championship, found success in the trucks. He had found success to a point in the O'Reilly Series. And so I thought if he continues his incline, he continues to get better, there's an opportunity there for him to maybe take a seat in an RCR Cup ride. He has plateaued. His only trick is the drafting tracks, is super speedways. Everywhere else this season, he has been not really that great. He's definitely not performed up to the standard of how you would expect the RCR cars to run. And when it comes to the O'Reilly Series, they have a lot more track record of running better and being better. And even Austin Hill himself has had a better track record compared to years prior. So in my opinion, yeah, no, he's not an option in my eyes as a Cup guy. Jesse Love, much more so an option in Cup, but I don't understand why they're not willing to give him that opportunity, or better yet, that they're willing to just let him go, especially with this opening that they chose Austin over Jesse. Tells me that, again, like I said, Jesse had one foot out the door. And so if Noah Gregson is an option, then look, I'm not the biggest Noah Gregson fan. As a driver, that is. I've always found him to be quite overrated. He had really one good year in the O'Reilly Series. He had a couple of years where he won like 3 or 4 races, but overall he had one really good year. And again, as it is shown, just because you have speed in the O'Reilly Series, and by the way, the best O'Reilly Series team and the best O'Reilly Series car that the O'Reilly Series has to offer. I mean, we have seen literally the best guys come through the O'Reilly Series and race that exact same 9 car. Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, William Byron. these guys that are kind of bred to have success in the Cup Series. And it always kind of felt like to me, when Gragson got that opportunity, it was kind of like oh, yeah, I guess talent's running thin. He's a funny guy. It's that like I view Noah how I think a lot of people view Carson Hocevar. People view Carson as like, oh, he's funny and he's got a good personality and that's why people like him, and but his racing is shit. Like he races like shit or something like that. There's a lot of people that think that. I don't view Carson like that. I view him as extremely aggressive. At times makes mistakes. We're going to talk about him later. But there is talent in what he's able to do. Gragson doesn't do those kinds of things. He's got a good personality. He's a funny guy. I watched the NASCAR made like this little mini movie thing where it's like the NASCAR versus the Navy and their attempt to try to promote the San Diego race that is happening here in a couple weeks. And Gragson was funny in it. I'll give him credit. Like he was pretty funny in that. So he's got a good personality. I got nothing against the guy personally. I just don't think he's very good. I think he's one of those guys that is destined to be an O'Reilly Series driver for the rest of his career. And that's where I think he would find the most success that he could possibly have in his career, wins wise, top five wise, championship wise. That's where I think he's meant to be. Not everybody's made for the Cup Series, and he fits perfectly with maybe taking a step back and going down to the O'Reilly Series. It's not the worst thing on the planet. I've said this how many shows in a row now. Being sent to the O'Reilly Series is not a death sentence. People make great careers down there. You can make a Hall of Fame career down there if you have enough success. But some people just aren't meant to hack it in the Cup Series. And I think there's still more people in the Cup Series now that as time goes on, those people will also get weeded out. And they aren't meant to hack it. But if he were to get that opportunity at RCR, the only justification to me is, again, as this article discusses, the possible sponsorship opportunity that he could either retain and keep on that now 33 car, or the connection with Bass Pro Shops. And the idea that they like Noah and they would be more willing to sponsor that 33 car for some more races and keep that thing going because Noah's in it. Unfortunately for Jesse Love, even though this article goes on, there's another part of this article where it says, is Jesse Love a stronger long-term fit for Richard Childress Racing than Noah Gragson? I'll read this in a second, but right off the rip, off the top of my head, I'd say if you want performance-wise, possibly. But again, it's that whole idea of, yeah, you got success in the O'Reilly Series. Doesn't mean you're going to find success in the Cup Series. Some people like Jesse Love more than I do. I think he could be good. I think he's fine. But you saw the separation last year of talent when it came to him versus Connor Zillage. And you saw how much better Connor was across the board at like every fucking track. And you see how much Connor is struggling. And if you compare the two teams of Trackhouse and RCR, there's a part of me that, depending on the week, I kind of feel like they're even. I feel like they're even speed-wise. I mean, like, Connor is beyond depressed with how his season has gone. And he's bottom of the standings right now, right down there next to Cody Ware, for Christ's sake. And to have this type of success that he had in the O'Reilly Series last year, and to have the amount of wins that he had last year, And to see the fall that he has had this year, performance-wise, I can't imagine. I mean, maybe the struggle would be not as bad for Jesse, but I can't imagine it would be too different. Again, making that jump from the O'Reilly Series to the Cup Series it's a process. As we have learned, it is a process for guys to learn this car and to have to almost reshape the way that they drive and to reshape the way that they race because of the differences between the O'Reilly Series car and the Cup Series car. It takes time to almost just rewire your brain after running that O'Reilly Series car for so much time in the way that you drive. And that's why, again, the idea that Front Row would say, we're going to give Lane Riggs an opportunity and we're going to bump Noah out and we're going to give Lane Riggs an opportunity in that 4 car and see what he does. Because personally, I feel like they would give Lane Riggs the opportunity over Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith has already had opportunities in the higher series and hasn't really worked out well. I feel like they would be more willing to give Lane Riggs an opportunity over Chandler Smith in the Cup Series. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Lane Riggs found more success right off the rip than Noah Gragson. Again, solely because how many years did Noah race that O'Reilly Series car? And granted, yeah, he ran trucks, but how many years after did he race the O'Reilly Series car? Again, changing and shifting the way that he races to adapt to the O'Reilly Series car and be fast in that car to have 8 wins in a season. And then he makes that jump to Cup. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, he's been in great equipment, because he hasn't. I mean, as far as equipment wise, it hasn't been, Hendrick Motorsports or Trackhouse in its heyday or whatever. It's been mid to low level equipment at best. But it takes time. And in the Cup Series, unfortunately, it's not about giving people time. It's about results as fast as you can get it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Front Row instead went with Lane Riggs in that 4. And I also wouldn't be surprised if he found results quicker because, again, racing the trucks the whole time, making that transition to Cup is more similar. I don't know about long-term success. I don't know if Lane Riggs could find long-term success 5-7 years down the road and really improve for Front Row. I don't know. Maybe Noah's long-term talent is better than Lane Riggs. Again, I don't know until we are faced with that situation. But as far as right now, I just don't see it for Noah Gragson. I just don't see the opportunity for him to stay in the Cup Series for very long. And yeah, you can be a funny guy and you can have a great personality like Noah does, but it really can only get you so far. If Carson Hocevar was out here with the personality that he had and running people over and causing a ruckus and, but again, was funny online and had a good personality, but he ran 30th every week or he ran 25th every week, no one would care. And everyone, including myself, would be like, I don't care how nice the guy is. If there's no results. And it's different when the results are there. If the results weren't there, a lot more people would be shouting for Carson to get kicked out of his ride and given to somebody else. But because the results are there and because he's found speed, that's why people like him. That's why people are willing to put up with it. That's why fans are also cheering for it, because it's not just chaos. It's chaos with success. It's chaos with speed. He's not doing it in 25th when it doesn't matter and it doesn't mean anything. He's doing it for first, or he's doing it for fifth, or he's doing it for a top 5 finish. He's doing it for something that actually matters. So it's kind with Noah Gragson, it's kind of that old saying of, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, did it really make a noise? If Noah Gregson's really that funny, but no one cares to listen to him or pay attention to him, is he really that funny? Let's continue with this article. With the question, is Jesse Love a stronger long-term fit for Richard Childress Racing than Noah Gragson? With Richard Childress Racing's own system, Jesse Love continues to present a more natural long-term solution for the 33 seat. Earlier in the silly season cycle, the 21-year-old was widely viewed as leading candidate ahead of Austin Hill due to his age and development trajectory. Jesus Christ. I can't talk. That picture has shifted slightly. Recent chatter suggests Love could be in contention for a third seat at Legacy Motor Club, especially after lineup changes elsewhere reshaped the driver market. Even so, Love's performance keeps him firmly in the conversation. The reigning O'Reilly Series champion has carried that momentum into 2026, sitting second in the standings through 16 races. Sponsorship complications could influence his path to RCR, with the number 33 tied to brands in regulated categories. The team may lean towards a driver who aligns more comfortably with those requirements. That has brought Noah Gragson back into the consideration despite Love's stronger competitive profile. Gregson's NASCAR journey adds to his candidacy. He built his reputation in the Truck Series with KBM before moving to Junior Motorsports in the O'Reilly Series, where he became one of the most popular drivers in the garage. He made it back-to-back championship fours and tied the record for consecutive wins in 2022 with 4. However, Noah's transition to the Cup has not matched that trajectory across 2 full-time seasons, and into 2026, he has just two top 5 finishes. That gap between potential and output continues to define his current standing in the market. Still, his Bass Pro Shop support could prove decisive. I will say this. I'm not in the belief that Love would be the choice for Legacy Motor Club. Now, maybe there's some rumors out there that I haven't seen, and maybe there's some talk out there that I haven't seen that he is the choice for that 84 car that is inevitably going to change over from RFK to Legacy. But that being said, I still feel like that's going to change, because even with all that talk that I had about Riley Herbst last week, talking about how, again, I believe that he's not a Cup Series guy. He's an O'Reilly Series guy as well. I think his talent is more meant for the O'Reilly Series. With that said, sponsorship is a major thing. It is a big selling point. And I want to play this clip. This is a clip from last week that I didn't find till today, talking about the Corey Heim to the 23. And it's a clip from Ken Schrader and Kenny Wallace's podcast on Dirty Mo Media. I didn't see this until today, but it is a good example and is a good talking point that they brought up that I've already kind of talked about, but it reiterates it here. And so I'm going to go ahead and play it for you guys.
Corey Heim is 23 years old. He's done everything that you could possibly ask out of him. It's like, how much longer are going to make this kid wait? So what 2311 did, 2311 said, okay, Riley Herbst is out. Now, it's thought of that Riley Herbst might go to Legacy with Jimmy Johnson, but Corey Heim is now going to drive Riley Herbst's car next year.
This is just a tough business. You know, I mean, it's tough. I signed a 3-year deal at Hendrick, 95, 96, 97 with Budweiser. and bought way out of the contract in 97 because I was done. I knew I was done. I was done in middle of 96. I mean, I was going to get to race in 97, but we weren't getting stuff done. And I went to Petrie's where I was really wanted. And I love Hendrick Motorsports, and Rick is a dear friend. I mean, I'd do anything there. But it was time. Had to do something else. It happens. Every combination doesn't work. You got to find one that does.
Joey Logano did not do real good at Joe Gibbs. It doesn't mean you throw him away and his career's over. Penske says, hey, I'll take Joey Logano. When something doesn't work out for a driver, I don't think you throw the driver away. But Herbst has got money. You go on the West Coast, there's all those Herbst stores, and they're selling Monster and energy drinks. So Riley's got a little ace up his sleeve. Corey Hahn.
That is a good point. That was the thing I talked about last week, was that Monster Energy thing is a major selling point for teams. And I think with Legacy Motor Club, it is a major selling point for them of knowing and understanding that, hey, in the landscape of Toyota drivers, the best are obviously with Joe Gibbs, but it is very obvious that there is this group of secondary guys within the Legacy Motor Club group for Toyota that are kind of attached to Toyota at the hip and kind of have been, that you almost look at and go, yeah, is Eric Jones... Most people don't look at him as like a secondary guy, but he's now kind of put himself in that position. Maybe not to his, anything he really did wrong, but it was more so just business decisions of, hey, I had great success in the lower series. I got to the Cup Series. I was with, he went to Furniture Row in the second car in the 77. And he chose to go at a time that probably, hey, they looked great because they were finding speed and they won a championship, but it was the wrong time because they kind of either ran out of money or the owner just didn't want to spend the money anymore, realizing that it wasn't worth it. So, of course, that fell apart. And then obviously Eric had to find where he could kind of slot in, and he slotted in at the 43. And some people, it's not meant to be the guy who wins 60 races and is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Some people have great speed in the Truck Series, O'Reilly Series, ARCA Series, whatever, get an opportunity in Cup, and some people don't take that step back. Some people just stay in the Cup Series and they're just a mainstay forever. There's always been those guys. And throughout my entire childhood, there was always those people that they just stuck around forever and they were just solid hands. The Ward Burtons of the world. The Dave Blaney's of the world. The Jeff Burtons in a lot of way. Those solid hands of guys who always just ran okay, always just ran good enough, and kept the car clean. Not everybody can win races. It can't be, the 36 races that we run, there's a new winner every week. It can't be that. It can't be everybody wins once a week. Somebody is going to be better than everybody else. And some people are going to be a lot better than the rest of the field. And there is a fine line between, yes, you're good enough to be in the Cup Series, just barely, and then you're not. It's not there. All these other guys are riding a fine line of that. I want to look at this point standings to kind of just give you an idea of what I mean. A perfect example of somebody who rides that fine line is like a Todd Gilliland in a lot of way. He rides that fine line of keeping the car clean and running just okay enough to justify maybe staying. Michael McDowell has done that his entire career. Somebody who, wherever he's gone, has ran just good enough to justify staying in his ride. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as well. Same thing. Every now and then when it feels like, oh, maybe there's a chance that he doesn't stay where he's at, he ends up showing up with a random win every now and then. Or a random good run. To justify, again, keeping him in his ride. He's 23rd in points right now. In that 47 car, a single car team that has almost no support from Chevrolet. Yeah, they're going to sit there and go, yeah, we're going to stick with this guy because he just keeps the car clean and he gets us just good enough finishes probably to keep the team afloat. Eric Jones is now one of those guys. A steady hand in that 43 car to keep them running just good enough to justify him keeping him in the ride and paying him his salary. I think wherever Ryan Preece ends up going, if RFK does or doesn't run an open car next year, or they do find a charter or whatever, if that doesn't work out and he doesn't stay there, if somebody else goes and snatches him up and he stays in the Cup Series or wherever he goes, he's a solid enough hand that if he were to stay in the Cup Series, it's justified. These random every now and then good runs justify him staying in the Cup Series. Yeah, is the top 13 in the point standings minus Daniel Suarez, is that like the top of the top, the cream of the crop right now? Yes. But down the list, I mean, do I think that Austin Cindric deserves to be in the 2 car? No. I kind of would hope that Penske would have a little bit higher standards as their choice of driver for what is supposed to be their premier number 1 car. But is it so bad that you can't justify him being in the Cup Series in general? Not really. I mean, he's won these random offshoot races. Granted, again, it's drafting super speedway tracks, so it's not really anything too amazing to kind of hang your hat on, but it's not terrible enough. It's not, it's not Cole Custer. It's not Ty Dillon. It's not bottom of the bottom. It's not Cody Ware. It's not sitting there going, why the fuck are they still paying? Why is he still even in this car? It's so bad. It's not that bad. So it's tough to justify not having Riley Herbst kept around. Especially when all of a sudden now he's got the motivation to try to, again, like I said last week, this is his audition to try to stay. This is his opportunity to kind of show Legacy Motor Club, really, this is why you should hire me. Not just because of my sponsorship that I bring, but more so I'm starting to improve. And if you give me an opportunity, maybe I can continue to improve in the 84 car. I'm also a Toyota affiliated driver. There's something there. There's a reason to keep me around. There is that justification. Now, again, I think more to Kenny's point that he said in that clip, I think it's more so the sponsorship that he would bring as I think more the selling point, because if you compare it to, Jesse Love, what sponsorship does Jesse really bring with him? A lot of that sponsorship that Jesse's had on that 2 car was already established before he got there. It was established with like Sheldon Creed in the 2 car. It's not something that Jesse brought with him. So, unfortunately, I think that it's, at another opportunity where, yeah, maybe Love could get that shot, but I just don't know. It's not a guarantee for sure. I think out of any opportunity, that would have made the most sense, and that I think he would have had the best shot at getting a cup ride, probably was the 33. But I almost feel like out of the three options that it sounds like the 33 car might go with, Noah Gragson, Austin Hill, and Jesse Love, maybe to not Jesse's fault, feels like Jesse's the third option. He's the third best odds to get that ride. And what's disappointing, I think, is in a lot of people's eyes, people might think that as of right now, Jesse might be the highest talent level or the highest potential out of all those three guys. And yet he's third on that list. So, if you were to ask me to sum this up, if you were to ask me what I think is going to happen, I think, as of right now, that Noah is going to stay in the 4. I know that the runs have not been great, but he is currently 29th right now in points. I think that they will most definitely wait until the end of the season if they were going to try to make a move. Because, again, if they were to move off of Noah, I don't see them going anywhere else besides either Chandler Smith or Lane Riggs. And I think personally, I think that they would choose Lane Riggs over Chandler Smith. I feel like Lane has shown more speed over the time that he's been in that truck series. Chandler, again, has already had kind of some opportunities in the higher series and not really done well. So I think they'd be more willing to lean towards giving Lane Riggs an opportunity in the Cup Series in that 4 car. But I still don't think they're going to make that move. I think they're going to stick with Noah at least for one more season. I think that 84 car is probably going to go to Riley Herbst. He is starting to show more speed in the 35 since the announcement, again, giving him probably motivation to try to really push himself and try to his best to audition for his next ride. He's shown more speed over these last couple weeks since that announcement was put out. So I think that he inevitably gets the 84 car. And as far as the 33, fair or not, I think that that's going to go to Austin Hill. I don't know what RCR's obsession is with Austin Hill, viewing him higher than Jesse Love. It is not going to be a very popular choice. But maybe also that idea of, like Bob Pockris talked about, of wanting an older driver in there if they're going to keep those same sponsors, the alcohol, THC, and nicotine sponsors. If those types of sponsors that are still on that 8 car want an older driver, Austin's older. He looks older. He's had more experience in the Cup car, whether, again, fair or not. I'm not sitting here saying that he should get the opportunity, but it's looking like, again, with them giving him the initial opportunity to run this 33 out the rest of the season, they're not even going to split it. They're not even going to give Jesse a single race, as far as I know, this entire season. That's the writing on the wall right there. So, now as far as what Jesse does, that's a very good question. Again, I don't think a Cup Series ride opens up for him. Unless something crazy happens, like Connor leaves and goes to the 48, and then, Alex Bowman doesn't get the 88, and then the 88 goes to Jesse Love, like something like that. I don't see that happening. I don't see Trackhouse getting rid of Connor Zilic. And honestly, I think that if the 48 is changing hands, if Alex Bowman isn't coming back, I think Corey Day gets that opportunity. Hendrick Motorsports is seemingly committed to Corey Day. And he's starting to show speed again in the O'Reilly Series. So who knows if that could carry over to the Cup Series. It'll probably take him some time again. But for some reason, they see a future in him. And for some reason, they see him as a solid choice that they want to back. So I don't know what the future holds for Jesse, but until another Cup Series ride opens up, AJ Allmendinger retires, Michael McDowell retires, Ty Dillon leaves the car, Josh Berry gets booted out, something along those lines, unless one of those happens. Again, you're gridlocked. Unfortunately, Jesse's gridlocked. So, that being said, let me shift to this, because this was another talking point that I saw over the weekend following the Nashville race. There's a tweet chain that I want to read. God, this is going to be kind of long, but let me go ahead and talk about this. So back earlier last week, following the Nashville race, there was a tweet that I saw from NASCAR on Reddit, where supposedly Denny said on his podcast, and I didn't listen to it because I'm not listening to that. The tweet says, Denny Hamlin suggests that the Cup race at Nashville should be shortened to 300 miles. There's somebody who I will give a shout out to, Alexander the Admiral, where the I is the number 1. So at Alex the Admiral, quote tweeted this and said, "Get the fuck out, Denny. Want shorter races? Eliminate stages. Still not short enough? Bushwhack." Denny responds to this tweet, says, 4 hours of racing is too long. 4 hours of anything is too long. Stages are needed for TV. Now, I'm going to stop you right there, because this is going to get into a long Twitter chain, and I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as I can, but I want to stop here. Number 1, 4 hours of racing is too long. I am split on that. Some people might agree and say 4 hours of anything is too long. To me, I would say 4 hours of racing is not too long if it is done in short doses. If it is every single week where every single race is 4 hours long, that is too far. But if you want to talk about the Coke 600 being 4 hours of racing, to me, that should stay the same. There are certain races and certain special crown jewel events that, to me, deserve the amount of time that is allocated to make sure we get the 500 miles in, the 600 miles in. I don't care how long it is. I don't care if the race ends up being 5-6 hours because of either weather delays or, whatever. Because when it comes to those crown jewel races, the Daytona 500, the Coke 600, Bristol night races, the Indy, the Brickyard 400, these things, to me, these crown jewel events should be made to be a big deal. And that's why I want the post-race, the pre-race shows and the post-race shows and the over-the-top presentations of trying to sell that this is a really big deal. I want that. And those events deserve that. So, the idea of saying that every race needs to be 4 hours long, I, as a diehard fan, would not be against that, but I also am going to come from the perspective of a casual fan every single week sitting down and watching a race for 4 hours is not going to be able to be committed. They just can't mentally commit. They could do it again in short doses. Daytona 500, Coke 600, Brickyard 400, stuff like that. If those races are 4 hours long, short doses, we sell them to the casuals as like, these are crown jewel events. These are must watch races. These are special. More fans will be more willing to sit through 4 hours of racing because it's a shortened thing. But to some degree, if it's Nashville, I understand the perspective of Nashville wasn't that great of a race in all reality. I talked about that last week. Not a lot of great passing. Whoever was leading was going to lead. the only interesting thing happened towards the end where it was about saving fuel and saving tires. And that's, again, not very interesting to a casual fan. So the idea that like a race like Nashville would be 4 hours long, I understand. But as Alexander points out, eliminate the stage breaks. Why is it that if you want these stage cautions for an opportunity to get all these commercials in, why is it that I need to sit and watch these guys, or if I'm at the race and I'm not seeing these commercials, I'm sitting and watching these guys pace for fucking 15 minutes. I'm watching them pace for 5. Then I'm seeing them go down pit road for a little bit. Then I'm watching them pace for another 5 to 7 minutes. Where it ends up being a 15-minute break. And yeah, if you want to use that opportunity to get up and go to the bathroom or get up and go to the concession stands or just get up and walk around or something like that, like, sure, okay, fine. But if you want these events to be shorter and not 4 hours long, get rid of the fucking stage cautions. To me, there is no justifiable reason for you to sit there and say, yeah, we need to keep these stage cautions. If you want to keep the stages, fine, whatever. I'm not diehard about we can't award points to anybody at certain laps into a race. It's that whole thing of like, yeah, would I prefer single file restarts? Yeah. But at the same time, I'm totally okay with the game of the choose rule and having, choice of guys of one to pick the inside or the outside lane. I'm more okay with that as like a gimmicky thing in NASCAR because it's not so detrimental to the actual product that I'm seeing. To me, stage cautions are detrimental to the product that I'm seeing. Because remember, in the 75 plus year history of NASCAR, we didn't automatically throw cautions at certain laps into a race. We threw the green flag. It's that infamous clip of Carl Edwards. We throw the green flag. And the only reason that a yellow flag is supposed to come out is for when there is a condition on the racetrack that is unsafe to continue the race. That is the only reason that the yellow flag is actually designed to be thrown at a race at any time. F1 never even thinks about throwing a mandatory caution at any point in time during the race. The only time that they will ever throw a full course caution is because, again, there is a condition on the racetrack that is unsafe to continue the race. Same thing in IndyCar. Same thing in every sport, every form of racing. Yet for some reason, because again, TV broadcasters rule the sport, they want their guaranteed time of getting commercials in. So we have to throw these 15-minute breaks in so we can smush in as many commercials as we can to satisfy the broadcasters or to satisfy the TV partner. And it's so damn annoying as a viewer, not even just as a viewer probably at the track, but more so even as well, a viewer at home of me sitting there going, yeah, this race could have been 45 to an hour short if you didn't have to throw these multiple stage cautions that took fucking 15 minutes a stage. Not to mention, for some reason, whenever we throw just a regular caution, again, it's an opportunity to cram in as many commercials as we can. And so then, therefore, we have to, again, these cautions that should only really take a maximum of 2 minutes, 3 minutes total, couple times around the track of pacing, clean up some of the debris, get the car off the track, and we're already getting back to racing. Instead, we have to take the opportunity to create as many caution or commercials as we can. So then we got to pace for another 5 to 7 minutes for really no other reason other than commercials. Alexander responded to Denny Hamlin's reply Denny responded saying 4 hours of racing is too long. 4 hours of anything is too long. Stages are needed for TV. It's really not. I would say stage cautions are really not needed. Alexander responds, quote, 4 hours of anything is too long and stages are needed for TV are opposing statements. I don't agree. But if 4 hours is too long, we save 20 minutes per race with the stroke of a pen if we ditch stages. Otherwise, you want to take more track time away from the paying fan. Very, very fair argument. Alexander also goes on to say, the real issue is a race that started near 8 p.m. local on a work night. Sure, that was largely due to a rain delay combined with Nashville Superspeedway attendance policy making day races untenable, but that's why people are actually mad. Options are 1, Saturday night PM, or 2, Nashville Superspeedway allows coolers. The tweet that Alexander put out about the 4 hours of anything is too long and stages are needed for TV, that tweet was quoted by the best NASCAR mind in all of NASCAR, Mamba Smith. Can you tell the sarcasm in my voice? He quoted the tweet and says, if you get rid of stages and races start going green to checkers because there's less attrition than ever before, people will lose interest. I'd rather stage cautions than mystery yellows for nothing or drivers throwing roll bar padding out the window. So you'd rather New World NASCAR where less and less people are watching than even an attempt at an actual legitimate racing event. Even if that was always a thing, which, by the way, it was always a thing. I even saw a recent clip of Jeremy Mayfield on some podcast. I don't know if it was his or somebody else's, where he talked about a funny story of where he had this little, again, piece of, roll bar foam that they taped in a way that looked like a piece of lead that he was, I believe it was Richmond or Darlington or something like that, but he was racing. And as he would go on down the backstretch, he tried to throw that piece of foam out the window, and then he missed. It bounced around his car, and then he went back around the track again. And when he went back on the backstretch again, he then tried to throw it out the window again, out the right side window, and then that time it went out the window. And then there was a funny story about some track worker who, or some NASCAR person who had saw him do that and called him out on it and basically said, hey, don't do that again. So I understand that some people might not like that, but let's be honest here. It's always been a part of the sport. And while that is, in some way, shape, or form hokey, it's better than mandatory caution for only top 10 in points, small amount of points, and then again, sitting for 15 to 20 minutes watching commercials. You want to know what really drives people away from watching a race and staying interested in a race? Commercials. By the way, for a long extended period of time. It also doesn't get people to keep interest and actually makes people lose interest. Long periods of nothing happening. When there's not action happening for long periods of time, that is also what makes people lose interest. That's the reason why Major League Baseball even gave an idea or gave a thought to introducing the pitch clock. Because, yes, the diehard baseball fans enjoyed the 4 to 5 hour games because, again, the pitcher would sit there, kick some dirt, really take some time before throwing another pitch, or the batter would sit outside the batter's box for a million fucking years just trying to play with his padding and just try to kill time and get himself more prepared again. But again, to the casual who doesn't have time to sit for 5 hours and watch a baseball game, They lost interest after a certain amount of time, and attendance has dropped, and it dropped, and viewership dropped, and so they had to try to find a way to speed up the game. NASCAR could very easily speed up the process of entertainment by always trying to attempt to keep cars moving on track. Always trying to attempt to keep that green flag out and not have yellows. And yes, from a TV partner's perspective, we want our guaranteed time to make sure we get our commercials in. Yeah, but at some point, having that is removing viewership, because the casuals are going to sit there for the first stage. Yeah, the race is going on. Okay, there's a caution. It's the end of the stage, they say. All right, we're going to commercial. Been to commercial for 5 to 7 minutes. Oh, we're back from commercial. Oh, the guys are on pit road now. And they make their quick stop, which, by the way, only lasts like a minute. All right, a minute later. Oh, wait, what? We're already going back to commercial? God, we're already fucking back on another commercial again? Ah, fuck this. I'm going to go watch something. I'm just going to see what else is on. That is what kills more viewership than anything, is 5 to 7 minutes of commercial, 1 minute of fucking pit stops, and then another 5 to 7 minutes of commercials. As you can imagine, a lot of people responded to Mamba Smith's thing saying that he's an idiot, which he is. Alexander quote tweeted Mamba Smith. Now, this is where it gets really good. Or I shouldn't say good, but it gets long. There's a lot of responding back and forth to each other. Alexander quote tweets that original tweet from Mamba Smith saying, if the racing is good, green flag racing isn't a problem. What did I just say? And if long green flag runs become a problem because the racing isn't good, that's a car problem. Oh, wait, really? I didn't know. Stages would be a cheap Band-Aid, nothing more. That is exactly correct. That is exactly correct. That is spot fucking on. If the car was not an issue and it created good racing, then having long green flag runs shouldn't be an issue. We'd see the comers and goers. We'd see the strategy play out live. We wouldn't have to have constant restarts all the fucking time in order to see anything interesting happen on track. But unfortunately, we need that because races like Nashville, if it ran green flag from start to end and there were no cautions, whoever was leading the start would probably be leading at the end. And I guarantee you, anybody who started 10th on back would not see the lead. Mama Smith responded saying, yeah, maybe. I don't think that's the problem or the situation, but maybe you're right. Alexander responded back to that saying, I honestly agree with the broad goal of, quote, less is more. I just think the best way to go about it that is to continue distilling our sport back to its fundamental strengths. I find stages are as much of a hindrance as they are a help to casual or new viewers. It's an extra layer. Alexander also went on to say, the average casual viewer can tell that it's wasted time. We see the laps tick off on the scoreboard. We see the second 65 lap stage is actually closer to 57 or 58 laps because of a 10-minute TV break. MLB trimmed the fat between pitches with the pitch clock. It's almost like me and Alexander are like on the same wavelength. At this point, I might as well just start calling him friend of the show because he's more of a friend of the show than anybody else is. Alexander went on to say, we added fat in the middle of the race, and we can trim it out with the stroke of a pen if TV is on board. And I think fans would be less upset at the commercials interrupting green flag racing if said ads fall during natural long green flag runs where we know we aren't missing much. That is absolutely fucking true. Mamba Smith went on to respond saying, Alex, you have a lot of opinions and good thoughts. You should apply to work at NASCAR and implement them. You obviously have the passion for it. Alexander said, I'm not sure they'd want me, but we'll see where life takes me over the next few years. Can't deny it would be a dream come true. Mama Smith then went on to quote tweet that, saying, and this is where I wanted to really talk about this. Mama Smith quote tweeted it saying, then apply, man. Here's the thing. There's so many people that hop on here and give opinion or he said then, but he meant to say they, or think they know what's right. I never see them pull action behind it. If you care so much to argue or critique people within the machine, I challenge you and anyone else with the passion to apply and have positive change. If you actually want change, then jump in the pool, or else it's just noise. And I think you specifically care enough to have positive effect on this thing we all love, and I would help you Jesus Christ, people can't English. And I would help you how I could to get you specifically in the door. Alexander also went on to reply saying, where would I apply? I don't have much credentials at the moment, nothing journalistic anyway. Mama Smith said, you're looking in the wrong area. Journalists don't have much impact on rules and operations. You need to look at being an official, building up to being on ops. I say this because it's hard to understand what to fix when you haven't done any of the ground level stuff. And Alexander said, makes sense. Here's the thing. NASCAR doesn't want people like Alexander. NASCAR doesn't want people like me. NASCAR doesn't want differing viewpoints to call out their hypocrisy and their idiocy. They can come out on podcasts and talk about how much they love when fans go ahead and sit there and shout about, hey, we want to hear your voices. We want to hear your opinions. We want to hear what you have to say. Blah, 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 blah. All this other bullshit. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear us sit there and praise them to no end. If they really wanted to listen to us, and if they really wanted our opinions, and if they were actually going to listen to our opinions and really want us to actually help grow the sport and try to get feedback off of us, if they really wanted that, why the fuck did it take so many goddamn years for them to get rid of the playoffs? Why? From the inception of the playoffs, from the very beginning, we shouted from the rooftops as fans, we don't want this. This is stupid. This doesn't make any sense. This is terrible. Please don't do this. And yet they still went about it anyways. They still went ahead with it anyways. And by the way, we all thought for years that, it's the TV partners are just making NASCAR do this. They went to NASCAR and said, we want a playoffs because we can't really decide, blah, blah, blah. How can we figure out who, we don't have a playoff system like football or basketball or baseball or hockey or something like that we can sell. We were told for years that it was all the TV partners. And then years later, right before, of course, they go ahead and change back to the chase, all of a sudden we hear, the TV partners don't care. The TV partners say, do whatever you want. It's at the NASCAR's choices. Now, whether or not that's a later decision, maybe the TV partner did initially want a playoffs, and then after they realized it didn't fucking work, they said, figure, NASCAR, just do whatever you think is best. Maybe they did change their opinions on it. Maybe it was initially the broadcasters. But at the same time, when that's all we hear is that forever we were told, it's the TV partner that wants it. And then all of a sudden the TV partners basically come out and say, we don't care. Do what you want. And then even after that, it took them how many more years until NASCAR actually finally changed? And us as fans never stopped shouting from the rooftops that we don't want the playoffs. Hell, for fuck's sake, how many people on Twitter, Instagram, all of internet, all of social media, fans in the stands, any normal person, every single solitary NASCAR fan wasn't even cheering for the chase. They wanted a full season points. Did NASCAR give that to us? No, they didn't. Because they didn't actually want to do what we wanted them to do. They didn't actually want to listen to us. They wanted to just kind of meet us halfway. Because again, they can't let go of what they want. The France family owns the motherfucking sport. This is not a publicly traded company where there's shareholders and everything like that. It's the France family runs this show. And so therefore, they're going to do what they want to do. There's a reason why the Ben Kennedy kid gets to go in there and just say, yeah, we're going to run a road course in Chicago and we're just going to do it on the streets of Chicago. Does it make financial sense to go and do that? Were there really any fans clamoring for NASCAR to go onto the streets of Chicago? Yeah, not really, but we're going to do it anyways. Doesn't really make financial sense for us to do it anyways. By the way, they lost a ton of money by doing that. Didn't make any money back by that, but hey, we're still just going to do it anyways. Why did you get rid of Auto Club? Why did you tear that thing to shreds? We all loved that track. We didn't want you to get rid of that. Why did you tear that up? And by the way, there's no track going to be built there now. There was supposed to be a short track built there. Yeah, that was thrown out the fucking window. What happened to that? We'd still like a racetrack there. Hell, we'd like our old Auto Club back, but no. They didn't listen to us on that. They didn't listen to us NASCAR fans when we said we don't want Atlanta to be turned into a super speedway race. But yet they went ahead and did it anyways. They didn't think of the possibility of, hey, why don't we just keep Atlanta the way it is and instead just take our idea and maybe go to where Auto Club was and make Auto Club into what we want to make it into. We can redesign that thing into a pseudo 1.5 mile super speedway race. But no, they didn't want to do that. Instead, they want to do a San Diego race, which, by the way, will fucking bomb. That shit will bomb. It will be bad. It will not be fun to watch. It'll be a shit-ass race because, again, it's road course racing in a car that is supposed to be great on road courses and yet is fucking boring and terrible as shit. So my message to the Mamba Smiths of the world that are already getting paid by NASCAR in some way, shape, or form, he's in his own bio a chief hype officer of NASCAR, so you already know he's affiliated with the sport. He gets to be on Fox in Kevin Harvick's little podcast there. He's affiliated with the sport. He gets paid by the sport in some way, shape, or form. So to my message to all those guys, and not just him, but all the other people within the sport that look down on us fans who are vocal about our displeasures about the sport and think, oh, why don't you just do something about it? You want to know why we don't do anything about it or why we can't? It's because you don't welcome us. They don't want me in the room. They don't. Because if I was in the room, I'd literally sit there and be like, you guys are all fucking terrible at your job. You have no idea what you're doing. You never have. All of you people have went and sat and destroyed this thing over the entire 2 decades that this sport is, that the last 2 decades have been around since the fucking mid 2000s. You started with the COT, a shit ass car that you have only built worse fucking cars off of. You have came up with convoluted point systems like the chase because you couldn't accept the fact that somebody who didn't win as many races as somebody else just happened to be more consistent and was just flat better. So you went and changed the point system based off of it, creating a bunch of convoluted points winners. And by the way, your goal in making the chase was so that other people would have opportunities to win and it would be more so unpredictable. And in that being your goal, you ended up making one of the most dominant champions to ever happen because one guy won 5 fucking championships in a row from 2006 to 2010. Then you went on to make an even more convoluted point system, which made no fucking sense in any way, shape, or form. You have, in a lot of ways, made a terrible choice by implementing the charter system, where even other sports like IndyCar, where even the drivers were asked about having a possibility of there being a charter system in IndyCar, and every single motherfucker who has even ever suggested that said, don't even ever bring that up to me ever again. I never want to hear about that ever again. Or even the idea again of a playoff system being brought up to being brought up to IndyCar. Every single one of those guys said, never bring that up to us again, because we know how stupid that is and how terrible it's worked out. You have came up with stupid ass things like the caution clock, the overtime line, the stupidity behind not only getting rid of the grass at Daytona because of a quote, it's supposed to be safer, which by the way, not safer, just as dangerous, if not even more dangerous. You've also added the double yellow line rule, which again was supposed to make it safer, but wasn't safer. You've done so many stupid, convoluted things over the last 2+ decades that I've watched this sport that I'd fire every single one of you. I'd fire you all and start from scratch. Because it's obvious you people don't have any idea what the hell you're doing. You guys think that you know what makes NASCAR great. You guys think that you know what is best for NASCAR. And what you think is just stealing ideas from other forms of sport and trying to forcefully implement them into something that doesn't fit. You're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and it don't fit. And just because the square peg fits in a square peg somewhere else doesn't mean it's going to fit in a round hole over here. You need to be original. You need to come up with your own things, which, by the way, this sport 20+ years ago already did. We already had our own thing. We were already different. We were already special. And because you started to try to make this thing like something else, you started pushing people away. You started implementing things that weren't special, that weren't original. You started taking things from other sports, whether it be other motorsports or other stick and ball sports, and trying to forcefully implement them into NASCAR. And that started pushing people away. And instead of seeing that and coming to the conclusion of, hey, maybe I shouldn't keep forcing other things. Maybe I should go back to what I was doing before and maybe try to get those people back, because obviously I made a mistake by trying to change things. Instead, you just changed more things. Instead, you took more stuff from stick and ball sports and more stuff from other motorsports, and again tried to force it into NASCAR, to the point now where last year, and even this year too, the NASCAR that I knew from fucking 20+ years ago was actually NASCAR. And nowadays it is this weird amalgamation of literally the cars we see on track are not NASCAR stock cars. They're like supercar. They're like GT supercars that are designed to be road course cars almost. By the way, not a road course sport, mostly an oval sport. It has gone so far off the deep end that we are now basically taking GT supercars, racing them on ovals with a point system that was like designed to be played in like football. This is how far off the deep end we've gone. And so then again, when us fans have been shouting for 2+ decades saying, please stop doing this. Please stop. You're basically self-harming. Please stop self-harming. Please stop hurting yourself. Please stop killing this thing. Please stop killing the sport that I love. Please you're going to keep hurting this thing to the point where it's going to get to a point where it no longer exists. Please stop. I want this thing to continue. Please stop it. And they just won't listen. They never have, and they never will. If they listened, we'd have a full season point standings right now. What is it? Tony Stewart had a quote either last year or earlier this year or pretty recently. And hearing him say this again is, understanding as to why he got the fuck out of the sport. But he had a quote where, because somebody asked him about, why isn't there just like a driver committee where they go in and talk things over with the owners and the sport execs and everything like that and the France family, and why isn't there something like that? And Tony said, yeah, there was something like that. There was for a moment in time. And all the drivers who had all these issues that they thought could make the sport so much better, they brought this list of like 5, 6, whatever it was, things to NASCAR. And NASCAR literally looked at them and said, we think that everything on this list should be the exact opposite. Like we think the total opposite of what you're bringing to us. And that was where Tony, I guess, supposedly went, whoa, we are in trouble. If that's really what you think. And he's right. It is shown in the history of how the sport has gone. It's shown that he was right. I mean, even just the idea that this sport and the people running it want to somehow, some way, make the O'Reilly series into an electric vehicle series just shows me it's like you want this thing to die. You don't want this thing to survive. You want this thing to literally die. I get this whole idea of like wanting to push the sport into the future, but having an electric series is not the future of racing. You're not attracting car fans. You're not attracting race fans by doing that. Formula One, they already tried that. There's a thing called Formula E, and no one fucking knows anything about it. Nor does nobody care about it. Never has, and no one ever will. So yeah, I'm sorry, Mamba Smith. I'm sorry to all these other NASCAR people that are like, just get involved. I'll just call NASCAR now. I'll call them tomorrow morning and be like, yeah, just hire me. I want to be a track official. I want to be a guy who makes decisions. Get me in the room with the France family. They need to hear what I have to say. And then they're going to hear my call and go, yeah, okay, sure. We'll get you in right away. Random fan from Minnesota. No, they'll fucking hang up the phone on me and tell me I'm psychotic and never call again. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Just get involved. Just get in the room. What's the issue? Just get involved and get in the room. I don't see what the problem is. Oh, sure. Thanks, bro. All right. Let's talk about the weekend now. How long am I into this thing? I feel like I've been talking for a while. God damn, hour and a half. All right. Let's talk about this past weekend. No O'Reilly series, so best race we could have possibly seen didn't happen. But we got the Truck Series and the Cup Series. I'm not going to talk about the ARCA Series, but the only thing I will mention about the ARCA Series is it was rain shortened and Cletus was in it. Cletus ran on pole. Now, I know some people, I'll be honest, some people might be like, oh, he's got some kind of speed. He got the pole at ARCA. Number one, he has a good enough car to get the pole. Number two, it's full throttle. Like, it's basically like super speedway qualifying at Michigan. It really is. Those cars aren't going fast enough to where you're really ever out of the throttle much. So good for him, but I wasn't really that like, oh my God, that's crazy impressive kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it kind of showed. He made some mistakes in the ARCA race, and the trucks weren't much better. He had another self spin. Look, the thing about him is he's as I've said many times on this show, he's inexperienced. He needs more seat time more than anything. Doesn't matter if it's O'Reilly Series, Truck Series, ARCA Series. He just needs more time in the car. And some people, again, to the point I talked about last week and plenty of other weeks, should he be excluded from the O'Reilly Series? I don't think so, based off of the track record of the amount of the type of people that are allowed in the O'Reilly Series. But if we were to try to tighten up the requirements or the skill level required to get into certain series, then yeah, I'd say maybe he should stick to ARCA. And he should stick to ARCA for a minute. But then so would Natalie Decker, and so would Frankie Muniz, and so would so many other drivers be on that list of guys that I would say, you're not allowed past trucks because you're just not skilled enough to handle the O'Reilly Series car, in my opinion. So it's going to be fine as long as those requirements are pretty laxed. And, again, this is going to continue to happen. He's going to continue to go to these races that he gets opportunities in, and he's going to continue to spin. He's going to continue to make mistakes. He's going to continue to screw up. It's just the nature of the game. When you're that inexperienced and you don't have really any seat time in these cars, you're going to screw up, and you're going to hit the wall, and you're going to overcorrect yourself, and you're going to step over that line, and you're going to make mistakes. It's just going to happen. So, again, it's been kind of funny. He's walked away without hitting any, even in the truck race where he spun, I don't know if he just overcooked it in the middle of 1 and 2 or what, but he just spun it going through turn 2, down the track onto the apron, and still again, never hit anybody. Just a self spin. He's fine for what he's doing. He is. And the DBC people and the overcritical people that are still trying their best to somehow feign like this is something serious and that, you need to earn the opportunities you get. You're never going to satisfy them. They're always still going they're still going to poke and prod and call that stuff out. So I was about to say, I'm like, there's no point in even talking about it or calling them out, but I know I'm going to do it again in the future. The only other thing from the truck race I wanted to talk about was the ending of the race. Of course, no surprise, Corey Heim wins, LOL. It seems to be a weekly occurrence whenever he's in the truck series. But Honeycutt was kind of upset, I guess, at the blocking that Corey Heim was doing at the end of that truck race. And I have a quote here from Corey Heim, which, by the way, watch the clip. It's just racing. I mean, it literally is just racing. They were coming off of 4. Honeycutt got a pretty good run, was about to try to go to his inside, and Corey Heim just mirror drove him and kind of just somewhat stayed in his way and slowed down Honeycutt's momentum enough to kind of stop him from passing before the line, and Heim got him. And Heim said, quote, as far as Honeycutt's reaction to that finish, he says, get thicker skin and deal with it. That's my advice to him. And he's not wrong. He's 1,000% right. Why is it that just normal racing now is so overly criticized in every way, shape, and form to the point where you can't even be slightly aggressive before you upset somebody and you piss somebody off and, oh my God, you're the worst thing ever because you blocked me. I don't care that we're teammates. I don't care that, I'm part-time and you're full-time and you're trying to race for a championship. I don't care about that. I'm here right now trying to win for my guys and my team, and I'm going to do anything and everything I can to keep you behind me. If I got to block you, I'm going to block you. I can't just sit here in a straight line and not attempt to try to stop your momentum and just let you by. At that point, we're not racing anymore. We're just driving. Unfortunately, racing comes with some beating and banging. When it comes to NASCAR, it comes with close quarters, somewhat, not so nice things that I would do to you. I can't just sit there and let you drive by me because you got more momentum than me at this exact moment at all. I'm just going to let you by as we get across the line for the fucking checkered flag. No, I'm going to block you. I'm going to race you. I'm actually going to do the thing we're trying to fucking do. And again, I don't care that we're teammates. The fact of the matter is that I'm trying to win for my guys, trying to help my team, trying to help myself as best I can. I'm not here to help you win the race. I'm here to help my team win the race. Period. And it's stuff like that, honestly, kind of holds Honeycutt back. Because if he's not willing to do that, and here's the thing, it's not Connor Hocevar. It's not Carson Hocevar level of aggression where you got to go in there and fucking dive bomb everybody and move people out of the way and fit your car in every hole that you see. It's not that level of aggression. But if you're not even willing to, rough somebody up a little bit or put somebody in a bad spot, even one time, for the fucking win. This is the other thing too. It's like, it's not even for like 5th or 10th or even 2nd. It's for the win. You should want to race aggressively to try to win the race. Be first place. That's the goal of what we're doing. So yes, you should try and want to do anything and everything you can to beat the person you're trying to beat for first. If it's for 5th or for 7th or for 10th or 15th and we almost wrecked and you're racing me super hard for 15th, what does it fucking matter? We're going to finish 14th and 15th? Doesn't matter, we're not winning the race. Then yeah, fine, maybe you got legs to stand on there, but it's for the fucking win. Grow some fucking balls, Honeycutt. Are you kidding me? What the hell are you talking about? Getting upset over somebody racing you hard for the fucking win. Go to F1 if you got a problem with that. Go to IndyCar if you got a problem with that. There's been so much more egregious shit that has happened. Not just in the last 20 years, just this year. There's been so much more egregious shit by so many other people. And no, not just Carson Hocevar. By so many other people. Throughout this entire season. That for something like that to be what upsets somebody is just... I almost sit there and go, yeah, you ain't gonna make it. If that's your attitude about anybody putting any sort of pressure on you or making it hard on you for the win on the last lap, then yeah, no. You ain't gonna make it. Under the Cup race, though, boy, oh boy, I'm gonna get through some of the key points of the Cup race here. I got some things down. Number one, start the race. Let's talk about Connor Zilic. You can hear the frustration in his voice. You can hear the frustration in his complaints over the radio after he spun, not once, but twice within the first 9 laps. Spun on lap 2, and then spun on lap 9. And the lap 9 one ended his race. You can tell, this is the problem of O'Reilly Series guys making the jump to Cup. It takes time. And, you know, with Zilich, they're going to give him all the rope that he needs. I would think they would give him all the rope that he needs. He's got good sponsorship backup with WeatherTech and Red Bull. Even when he struggled on the ovals, he's shown great speed at the road courses. So the talent, can somewhat translate once he figures it out. Is he going to be the next Jeff Gordon or the next Kyle Larson? I don't think so. I think he'll be a mainstay within the Cup Series. I think he could be. And he'll win some races and maybe a championship if he goes to the right team. But I don't think he's going to go out there and win, 4 or 5 championships with 70 wins or anything like that. I don't think he's going to get to that high a level. Maybe in 10 years he could get it with the right team and the right set of people and hit a stride. Or if he gets lucky enough that Hendrick Motorsports does pick him up from Trackhouse here this next offseason and, he just hitches his ride to the 48 for the rest of his career and stays with Hendrick for the rest of his career and then figures it out and sails off into the sunset and wins some more championships and a lot more races or whatever. Maybe he can figure it out then. But on the path he's on now, it's going to be a long road. Trackhouse is not nearly what they were in those first couple of years when they went to the next gen car. I don't see anything on the horizon that makes me believe that they're going to all of a sudden turn this thing around and be just as fast as Spire or just as fast as Hendrick in the Chevy camp. The only bright spot, funny enough, has been SVG, which is weird because it's not even just on the road courses. He's been the best on ovals now out of the entire Trackhouse group. He's the only one who's seemingly in contention for a championship spot. Realistically, that is. Chastain has really fallen off as far as where you'd expect him to be running. And so, yeah, it's kind of easy to chalk the Trackhouse thing and to say, yeah, they're just no good. And I don't think they're ever going to, maybe down the line they can figure something out to be championship contenders again, but I just don't see that group right now looking like it's championship contender within the next, 5 years. So then again, if Connor stays at the 88, stays at Trackhouse, it's going to be a long road. And it's going to be rough. He has not had a good season at all. He's been one of the worst guys, right there with Cody Ware. Worst in the standings. And Michigan, I think, is I'd say that's rock bottom, but you never know. That's pretty bad. To spin twice in the first 9 laps, just all on your own, is not a great look. I don't think that Connor Zilich is a bust. I don't. I think he has an immense amount of talent, obviously, especially at road courses. I think at San Diego, he'll be top 10 on speed and maybe contending for the win. But the ovals across the board are going to take a lot of time to learn and a lot of time to catch up. But I don't think he's a bust, and I think he'll be okay. I don't think he'll be somebody that will get booted from his ride in the Cup Series and never see a Cup Series ride again. I don't think it's a Noah Gragson thing or a Riley Herbst thing. I think it's just a matter of this is a long learning curve, and it takes some time. And he was too good and too fast in the O'Reilly Series, and he's, again, shown speed in the road courses in the Cup Series. And this is, I think, because some people might be like, well, Noah Gragson had speed in the O'Reilly Series and he hasn't figured it out yet in Cup. Here's the difference. Noah Gragson has shown no speed anywhere. He's shown nothing anywhere. Not mile and a halves, short tracks, super speedways, road courses, nothing. He's shown nothing. Zillage has at least shown speed at the road courses. The talent shines through at that one specific thing that he's good at. So there's something there. It's like the Ryan Preece or Josh Berry. Maybe even more so Josh Berry. I think that Josh Berry maybe could work at a different team. Maybe. Not saying it's a guarantee. It's a big maybe. And the maybe reason why I give him that is because he has talent at short tracks. And he has shown it in the past. The same thing with Ryan Preece. He's, up until this year, wasn't that great on mile and a halves and, regular ovals that we go to. But short tracks, he showed flashes of speed. So it's almost like, oh, okay, I see something there. With Gragson, I see nothing. With Custer, I see nothing. With Ty Dillon, I see nothing. With John Hunter, even, I really don't see anything. There's times where he'll randomly be up towards the front, but there's never like, oh, he has a very good car today throughout the entire day. There's never that. There's like flashes where it's like, okay, he's up in the top 10 for a little bit and he's back down around 20th again or worse, where he normally is. Again, across the board. So I think Connor will be fine, but he's just got to figure this car out. And I won't lie, he's got to do it fast. This year is a burn it year. All right, your season's over. You're not making the chase. Probably not going to win any races unless it's a road course. Now it's about just figure out the car. Just try your best to, anytime we go to an oval, this weekend at Pocono, don't shoot for the moon. Shoot for a top 20. Shoot for a top 25. Start small. In this first year, in your rookie year, start small. Small goals. And then as you slowly start to get those goals more, okay, now we can bump it up to top 15. See if we can try to get a top 15 now. Oh, we got a top 15. All right, let's see if we can have a top 10 by the end of the season. Shit like this. And I'm not saying like, oh, randomly a super speedway we got a top 10. No, I'm talking like when we go to Chicagoland, or when we go back to Vegas, or we go to Kansas, or, like a regular mile and a half, or a Martinsville or a Bristol, or, something like that. I want to see I want to see something there. I want to see a top 10. I want to see a top 5. I want to see some speed out of you in that car. And then if we start to see that, okay, now I want to see it more consistently. Now I want to see the baseline of being 25th versus the baseline being 30th. I want to see the baseline being 25th as the worst we can run. And if it's worse than 25th, then it's a really bad day. Then I want to see you get good enough to where 20th is the baseline. Like that slow, gradual growth of expectations. Not the you're the prodigal son who's here to save Trackhouse. Go out there and win races. Moving on. A couple of other things. Speaking for somebody else who is pretty frustrated. What's funny is coming into the race, that 16 car of AJ Allmendinger had again shown flashes. Last week at Nashville, they were running up towards the front before they had not a tire failure, but a brake failure. He was running pretty well. Had a brake failure last week at Nashville. Similar thing again this week at Michigan. was kind of running around the top 10 at points, seemed to be doing okay. And just again, turn 2 spun on his own. And it was almost kind of like depressing to hear his radio of just the pure frustration within the team of just not having the speed, not having the balance in the car, constantly, as AJ Allmendinger said, constantly having to play defense all the time. I can understand how that is extremely frustrating of just knowing that you don't have the speed or the balance in the car to try to actually go and be on the offense and try to pass people, but always just trying your best to defend your position. I cannot imagine how frustrating that is. But you heard it on the radio after Allmendinger spun, hit the wall pretty hard himself, and ended his day. Again, like I said, you can just hear the frustration on the radio from him if you go back and listen to it yourself. Again, you can tell how much in the interviews, after hearing that radio, how much in the interviews he's really putting on a face of like, yeah, we're showing speed. We're showing something, we're against the wall here with, not really having a Chevy alignment and blah, blah, blah. And that's the unfortunate problem with the decision that Colleague Racing made, is they're going to have to kind of eat shit for a few years now. Because I mean, I love for Ram to rush up to the Cup Series and make a splash here very quickly, but in truthfulness, this is not a short process. They're in the Truck Series now. By the way, still just trying to get established in the Truck Series. Don't know if they're going to make an O'Reilly Series move and try to put an O'Reilly Series team in there before they go Cup racing. But I'd imagine that they'd want to be fully prepared, aerodynamically, and have a car fully, ready probably by 2030. 2031 is the year I keep hearing as far as something changing maybe. So there's a possibility that this is a long process of Colleague just eating shit for the next X amount of years until Dodge makes that jump to the Cup Series again and gets back in there. I don't think it's like a next year thing. I really don't. I'd be truly shocked if it was. If even in the next 2 years, not next year, but the year after, in 2028, I'd be truly shocked if Dodge was like, yep, 2028, we're going in. We're going to have a Cup car ready to go with Colleague. Maybe Colleague would be the ones to shouting at Dodge, please fucking hurry up. Get your Cup Series shit together already. We're dying out here. But I think as long as Dodge is still in the Truck Series, they're going to keep Colleague afloat for as many years as they need to until Dodge eventually does get to the Cup Series, because, they don't want Colleague to go and die on them before they even get a chance to the Cup Series. Some other things that happened in the race. Obviously, the big talking point within the actual race was Carson Hocevar. Let's get into him for a minute here. There was a restart that caused a nice big pileup, took out Tyler Reddick, Austin Dillon, some other people. Had Denny Hamlin spinning around, but he was okay, obviously. And it all went bad when, on a restart, Carson Hocevar went to go try to push John Hunter, I believe, right in front of him. And it caused a nice long chain reaction when Carson pushed John Hunter. And when he did it, when he made contact, he went to the left. Either, there's, I think, 2 reasons as to why he did that, but he did go to the left, turning John Hunter, and then again, like I said, causing a nice long chain of reaction of one person hooking one person, and then the person in front of them getting hooked, and then the person in front of them getting hooked, and so on and so forth. I think two things could have happened. I know Carson had his explanation, but I think two things could have happened. One, he was going to make that attempted move of he didn't think he was that close to John Hunter, and so therefore he went to go make a move to the left to get down below him to go 3 wide, and then again accidentally hooked him. Or to me, what it looked like from a third person's perspective, not knowing anything and not anybody's, saying anything or explaining anything, it looked like to me, with the way the inside line was kind of snaking a little bit on the start, that Carson wasn't lined up with John Hunter to hit him. And so therefore he tried to quickly move back over to get behind him. And when he did, or to square up when he bumped him, and when he did, it was just too late. So then when he went to go make that move to the left, he was already at his bumper and made contact, and then that's what ended up spinning him. Regardless of whatever the reason is, understandably, people are obviously going to be pissed and upset. There's no way around it. Carson made a mistake, and I think he'd admit to that. And, some people, they're obviously the big Bubba Wallace trying to big brother him after the race. I'll say this. I don't think that... I don't think Bubba's the right person to try to big brother somebody about how to drive. I mean, Bubba's made plenty of mistakes himself. And the way that he at least explained it in the post-race interview was, I was just, he's got so much talent, and I'm just trying to explain to him, we wish you had this much talent. Let's just hear a quick clip of what he said.
He's fast, and he deserves to be in victory lane multiple times out of a year, but making mistakes is going to cost him, and he hasn't realized that yet.
So you were trying to both encourage him and send him on the right
I was pissed.
course? Yeah.
He's playing the game. The point by, letting me and Larson by, and the 43 by was nice, but it doesn't ease the pain. That's what I told him. It's like, you have to, I don't know if you're doing that on purpose, but you're having to do that because it's like, oh man, I wrecked that guy earlier. I wrecked him last week. I got to just stop hitting shit. You can race to your potential.
Do you think he listened?
Huh?
Do you think he listened?
So far. Who knows? We'll see.
And then here's what Carson had to say about it.
Our car was, I would have just, it's just probably just going to eat me up watching the 11, come in my rear view, drive by me, and then drive away, and then have a car in between us. I really would have liked at least to see if I could have stayed with him in the draft and everything, but his stuff was so fast. The only way I would have been able to, obviously beat him is if I could have cleared the 7, put a car in between us, and, Daniel's obviously really, hard to pass, and hope, he was able to hold Denny up and I could squirt away. But,
so you go back and you lean out.
All right, well, that one is whatever. Somebody said that the tweet said that was, talking about him and Bubba's conversation, but that obviously wasn't. I'll just say this. Look, there's a lot of other stuff on Carson I can talk about here, and I might as well address this now. Let's play some other clips here from some other people, and I want to get everybody to say their piece before I even say mine. So let's listen to some more Dirty Ball Media stuff. So, by the way, so Bubba said that about I was just trying to give him some encouragement. I was trying to tell him, hey, you're just so fast if you're just clean it up, blah, blah, blah. And then this is what Bubba says the next day, by the way.
Suarez races really hard.
Really hard.
Really hard.
And Hocevar does too. What is the difference between the two?
Suarez is going to run you really, really hard and force you into bad spots, as to where Carson is just going to put it into a hole that's not there. The whole restart thing, You watch his onboard, and he attaches to the 42 and then turns left. You can't do that. I don't care whoever's stacked up. Time the run to where it's better to where you can pull out before you hit him.
What really bothers me is the joking about it during the week on social media. It's not funny. You know what I mean?
Not funny.
It's not funny at all. People on TV are talking about like it's great, and I'm like, yeah, because you're not out here racing against him.
Yeah, exactly. He's not costing you spot. Hocevar is a hard racer. I told him this. I said he's fast. He races hard, but he races stupid. What Suarez is doing, he's not being stupid. He's making it really hard for you to get by him, which is the name of the game. Carson is just like, I don't care. I'm going to go run through the grass and pull up in front of you. It's like, no one does this. But then when you say that, people are like, yeah, no one does it because they're too scared. I like that he does that. It's like,
no, there's a reason no one does it.
There's a reason, yes.
I'm gonna address that in a second. Let's hear what Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi had to say about it.
Is this a time now where Carson needs to be worried finally that this comes back, or is this just more like, the standard, he did it again, we're mad again?
It could bite him in the butt. We don't know. I mean, again, it's not necessarily the big things that could come out of this, where someone's going to put you in the wall and your day is over. There are so many different small things in a race that happen where you're not caught a break. Today, for example, it certainly felt like Tyler Reddick could have passed Ross Chastain there at the end of stage one and put Chastain a lap down. He did. And Chastain was able to stay on the lead lap. That changes so much of your strategy in your day. And it's things like that, those little moments, those little breaks that your competitors give to you that go a long way. That is where I think Carson's going to lose the benefit of the doubt. The next time he wants to get down on a restart at Martinsville in the chase because he wants to maintain track position, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, no, sorry. Or if they're racing at Martinsville, they're going to be more inclined to put a bumper to him and kind of slide him up the racetrack. And it's those kind of things. It's not just turning somebody. It all adds up. And yes, at some point, this will catch up to you to some degree. But that doesn't mean Carson Hocevar should change. This is working for Carson Hocevar. Say what you will, but he almost won the race today. He had a 10th place finish last week at Nashville. He's having a remarkable year. He's carrying Spire Motorsports to a better performance than they've ever had. And plus, this is part of the maturation of a young driver. We've seen this so many times with so many different guys, where they kind of have to go through this little bit and figure out that sweet spot of when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive. Eventually, Hocevar will figure it out. But again, if this is working for you, run it out.
All right, now let's hear what Denny had to say about it.
I think the defining moment of our race was
That is not the right clip. Let's listen to what Denny had to say.
I just was not shocked. I mean, I was starting right behind him. I knew what he was going to do. I didn't know he was going to make contact that early. I didn't see anyone really checking up. Did the inside lane get a great restart? No, but I thought Carson was just trying to get a run and go 3 wide bottom and misjudged is what I thought. He knows he can't pull out to the start finish line. So he is trying to time a run to stick the 42 3 wide and pull out as soon as he can. So I think he had it, in his mind, he was going to do that. So when he got to the start finish line, he hangs a left, but the road's not going fast enough. Like, you have to check up. If your line checks up, you have to check up with it. And I just think that he was not willing to break his momentum. And I think he was willing to say whatever happens, happens. I
want to play this other one again, because I think the most egregious one is this DBC one. What a shocker. The DBC one is the most egregious one. Let's play what Bubba and Fattest and the spotter stand had to say about this again.
Suarez races really hard. Really hard. Really hard.
And Hocevar does too. What is the difference between the two?
Suarez is going to run you really, really hard and force you into bad spots, as to where Carson is just going to put it into a hole that's not there. The whole restart thing, you watch his onboard, and he attaches to the 42 and then turns left. You can't do that.
I know, here's the thing. People know you can't do that. He made a mistake. I think he admitted that he made a mistake. I don't think anybody's sitting here as a Carson Hocevar fan, myself included, going, what's wrong with that? He didn't do anything wrong there. It's no, yeah, he made a mistake, but at the same time, he's trying to make a move. He's trying to advance his position. Did he time it wrong? Yeah. But it's not like he didn't make a move or attempt to make a move that almost every other driver the whole fucking race didn't also do. He didn't intentionally get into the back of John Hunter and just say, fuck this guy, and then turned him. He was trying to, I think as Denny pointed out, I think he was just trying to make a run. And either, like I said, he did one or two things. Either he tried to A, turn left and get 3 wide, because he had done that move before in the race where he, after the start finish line, got to the inside of the guy in front of him when he was on the inside and got a massive fucking run being on that very bottom lane, painting that white line into 1 and 2 and kept his momentum because it was off the start through 1 and 2 being on the bottom and made up a bunch of spots. He had already done that in the race. And so then again, you're in the same situation, couple rows back, trying to make up as many spots as you can off the restart, knowing that that really is what matters the most, trying to get out in front of as many people as you can before dirty air plays a factor, and trying to get as much track position as you can off the jump, and misjudged it. And even if it wasn't an attempt to do that, and he was just trying to bump him straight, and he just didn't get back square in time before he hit him. Both ways are, it's like not a malicious attempt. It's not, oh my God, it's the worst thing that ever fucking happened. It's just a mistake that he made.
Don't care whoever stacked up. Time the run to where it's better, to where you can pull out before you hit him.
Well, hey, by the way, every one of you motherfuckers has done shit like this. This is what is so hypocritical and so ironic. All these guys do this same shit all the time. You all make these same mistakes. You all do. But you just don't like him because he does it in a more aggressive style, number one, and doesn't care. He doesn't kowtow to feeling bad for you or feeling bad that your race was lost and, oh, I got a race very clean. Like the Jordan Bianchi example of, I'm just going to let you keep your lap. I'm not going to try to pass you before the end of the stage or something like that. I'm going to let you keep your lap. Like, who fucking, there's no benefit to you to do that. If you're the leader coming to the end of a stage and you got somebody who's in front of you who's about to go lap down, yeah, I'm going to try to lap that dude. Because at the end of the day, that's one less person I got to worry about. It's one more person I got to lap down. It's one more person I trap that if I do have a problem and I lose a bunch of spots, it's another point for me. It's stupid strategically to not try to lap that person. Number one. Number two, again, you all are such selfish motherfuckers, as you should be. But yet you're so fucking blind to how selfish you really are. You think you're out there Santa Claus. You think you're the most generous person on the planet. Somehow, some way you justify that in your head and you think that. And because somebody else isn't extremely apologetic to you anytime that they do something that is a minor inconvenience to you, it's the Caden Honeycutt thing. Grow some fucking thicker skin, dude. We're not fucking all friends here. We're not all like just having fun and screwing around. We're racing for real money, real fucking championships, real shit. At least we're trying to feign that this is important. So why don't we act like it's important and I try to just beat you in any way, shape, or form that I can. Within reason. He made a mistake. So, bro, how many mistakes you make, Bubba? How many mistakes have you made in your fucking career? How many times have you fucked up? Not just in trucks, not just in Xfinity, but in Cup as well. Countless times. Countless times. It took Bubba how many fucking years of being the shits before he's now even halfway decent. And by the way, it's only halfway decent. So sitting there again and singling somebody out is like, you're just so goddamn bad. You're just so goddamn terrible. Bro, the dude is still young. He's still in what, his second, third year, something like that. He's just getting started. And again, you don't like it because he's better than you. And he's been passing you. And he's been faster. And he's doing it in a way that is not to your liking.
What really bothers me is the joking about it during the week on social media. It's not funny. You know what I mean?
Not funny.
It's not funny at all.
It is funny. It's funny. It's not funny that people are getting wrecked. What's funny is your pathetic reactions to it. You sitting there and getting extremely butthurt over the fact that somebody is beating you and making you look like a fool at the same time by either getting you out of shape or putting you in a rough spot that you can't handle. And then again, you make yourself look like even more of a fool by going online voluntarily and bitching and complaining about it. You don't like it? Do something about it. I said this months ago when this fucking fat ass sat there and talked shit about Carson Hocevar and how you don't like this and you don't like that. To get your fucking fat ass off the goddamn spotter stand, walk your fat ass down to the goddamn garage area after the race if you have a problem, and say something to him. Don't be a fucking bitch. Go on your podcast and be too afraid to say or do anything. And then just in the safe space of your podcast, just cry and whine all you want because she's not around and there's no one to confront you about it and you're too afraid to do anything or say anything. These motherfuckers had him on their podcast, and even when he was in the room with them, I'm not saying you have to go up and punch the dude, but he's in the same room with you on a 2-hour podcast. Did you really even ever confront him about it? No. Did you just halfway joke about it because you didn't really want to actually stand on your own 2 feet and have some fucking balls? You sure did that. You just sat there and, oh, you know, you probably could be better. You know, you probably could just do this and that, not actually say any of the shit that you actually say in your podcast to him. No, instead you just tiptoed around it. Same thing you did with Cletus last week. You sat there and tiptoed around it. Never actually confronted him about anything. Never actually stood on your own 2 feet and said what you originally said, which was you think he didn't belong here. That he doesn't belong in the O'Reilly series. He doesn't belong in the Truck series. Didn't want to say that again. Instead, you wanted to, again, circumvent the actual thing you said and say, oh, no, we thought it was bad for you. That's what we really meant to say, was that it was unfair to you. Because, again, it's very easy to sit there in the safe space of your room and say all this shit. But then when you're actually faced with it, what are you going to do? Not a goddamn thing. It's the same thing for all those times of Ross Chastain being aggressive on track. Ross Chastain ruffling a couple of feathers. All these fucking people for months, and I mean months of time, of Denny Hamlin and these same DBC guys and every motherfucker in the goddamn garage area, all saying the same thing. Somebody's got to do something about that Ross Chastain. He's just way too aggressive. He's driving in over his head. He's just being a menace out there. Blah, 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 blah. All this bullshit about him. And no one did fucking anything. No one said anything. Everyone sat there idly by and just took it. And then they'd go on their little podcasts or they'd go in interviews after the race and they'd bitch and complain and they'd whine and cry about it. But did they dare ever do anything about it? Nope. Never did a goddamn thing. Never confronted him. Never really said anything to him. Never did anything on track to him. Everybody always threatens shit. Everybody always talks about all the shit they're going to do on track. And we're going to rough him up. And we're going to do this. And we're going to put him in a bad spot. And no one ever does anything. Everyone just rolls over and takes it. Because that's all they know how to do. No one knows how to stand up for themselves, and not even just stand up for themselves. Nobody knows how to stand up for their team. Nobody knows how to stand up for their guys. I don't know how many of these pit crew members or the crew chiefs or the engineers or anybody else that's actually affected as well by all of their bad finishes. I don't know how any of those people don't look at the drivers and just have disrespect for them, just disgust for them. The fact that you won't stand up for us, you won't stand up for yourself. I mean, Jesus Christ, what the fuck am I putting in so much goddamn effort for your car for if you're not even going to sit up there and stand up for us and stand up for yourself when somebody roughs you up? You kidding me? So yeah, it's a joke. Yeah, we all think it's funny. We're not laughing at the fact that he's spinning somebody. We're laughing at you for all the bitching and complaining you're doing and the fact that you do fuck all about it.
At all. People on TV are talking about like it's great, and I'm like, yeah, because you're not out here racing against him.
Yeah, exactly. He's not costing you spot. Hocevar is a hard racer. I told him this yesterday. He's fast. He races hard, but he races stupid. What Suarez is doing.
How is it stupid if he's, what, 9th in points? Is it really that stupid if he's... Oh, sorry. That's Daniel Suarez who's 9th in points. Is it really that stupid if he's 7th in points with a win this season? Is it really that stupid if he's ahead of you in points, Bubba? If he's got more top fives than you? Is it really that stupid? Or is it actually smart? Is it actually smart for multiple reasons? Because not only is he putting you in a bad spot consistently and putting you in a rough situation consistently, but he's also benefiting himself and benefiting his team, more importantly. Being a smaller team that forever has been the shits. Spire was a joke forever. Right there with Starcom Racing or Starcom Motorsports or whatever the fuck they were called in the 00 with Quinn Houff. They were right there with him for all those years of being just the shits. The fucking backmarker of backmarkers. And now all of a sudden Spire is actually good. And they've won races. And they're finding speed. And it's not just by luck, but it's actually straight up speed. And Carson Hocevar is the face of that team right now, who's actually finding the most speed every single week. So is it really stupid? Or is it actually smart? Because he's now all of a sudden not only created great success for his team on the track, but I guarantee you he's creating way more success off the track. How long are those lines for him at his merchandise haulers? How long are yours? How long's John Hunter's? We'll get to him in a second. How long are his lines at his haulers compared to yours? Compared to Hocevar's? Here's one. How long's Hocevar's compared to Tyler Reddick's? Tyler Reddick's real long? Or is Hocevar's way longer? I guarantee you Hocevar's is way fucking longer than Tyler Reddick. And Reddick's won 5 races. And the best guy in the series right now. You think he'd be a real easy person to hitch a bandwagon to. But no. Everyone's hitching their wagon to Carson Hocevar. You want to know why? Because he's different. Because he's cool. Because he's interesting. He's entertaining. He's actually somewhat charismatic and likable. That's why. Not because he wrecks people. That's not why people like him. It's because he's different. He's not the samey bullshit that every one of you motherfuckers is. Not to mention the only other differing personality other than boring is bitchy. So when your options are boring and bitchy, you're going to choose the third option. And the third option is way more entertaining of a person to talk to, listen to, and be a fan of. By a country mile. You want to know why, Bubba, you don't have a whole lot of fans? It's not because you're black. That's not why. It's because you're a bitch in interviews and you're a hard person to listen to. And you come off extremely unlikable. Your attitude, whether it's something good or bad that happens, is so off-putting, and it has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're with 2311. It has nothing to do with anything. It doesn't have to do with the noose thing. It doesn't have to do with anything besides you being just a rough fucking person to be a fan of. It's the same thing with Denny. It's the same thing with Joey. It's the same thing with so many people. That's why people aren't fans of you. Not because of anything that you do on track. It's not because of your color. It's not because of your race. It's not because of anything. It's all to do with the fact of your personality and the way you conduct yourself. It's as simple as that. It's rough to listen to him sometimes, especially in post-race interviews, because, oh my God, him more than anybody. And I don't know if it's because of the race thing that I brought up earlier, but oh my God, everything is just the worst thing that's ever happened to him in his life. He could run fifth and be like, yeah, I'm just the shits. I'm just bad, or this is terrible, or whatever it is. It's just, and then he'll say some caveat thing like, but I got to put a smile on my face. It's like, okay, dude, we get it. You're the woe's me guy who's the world is against him all the fucking time. And it's everybody versus me all the time. And again, I don't know if it's because, I'm mixed, and so therefore the world's against me, or if it's just his personality. But whatever it is sure as shit ain't easy to be a fan of, and it ain't easy to listen to.
He's not being stupid. He's making it really hard for you to get by him, which is the name of the game.
Job.
Carson is just like, I don't care. I'm going to go run through the grass and pull up in front of you. It's
Yeah.
like, no one does this. But then when you say that, people are like, yeah, no one does it because they're too scared. I like
That's
that
why
he
we
does
like
that.
it,
It's
yeah.
like,
No, there's a reason no one does
yeah,
it.
there's a reason. Yes. Suarez
What's the
races.
reason? What's the reason why nobody does it? Again, is it because you're scared to do it? Is it because you're scared to make an ass out of yourself and you actually care what other drivers think? What's the reason why you don't do it? Seriously. I want to know. I'm not going to, I know the easy thing in the lob ball is, well, Dale Earnhardt did it, and so therefore, that's why Carson's cool. That's why people like it, is because Dale Earnhardt did it. That's not why. It's very easy to make the comparison to Dale Earnhardt, and just because, it's the most obvious name to throw out there and make the comparison to. But no, the reason why people like it is because it's not the craziness. It's not the chaos that people like. I think it's just as simple as it shows that he gives a fuck. It shows that he cares. It shows that he's fighting for his team. It shows that he's fighting for himself. It shows that he's fighting for his organization. That he cares so much about wanting to win and wanting to find success and wanting to be good that he's willing to do anything and everything it takes to get there. He'll take every run. He'll take every chance. He'll push the car past its limits just to try to get another spot. That's what people attract to. That's what people like. That is what people get into. There are too many people out there that are just okay running okay. There are too many people like the Tyler Reddick thing that was brought up earlier. There are too many people that are just fine with letting people go. We've got enough people that are just fine with letting people go. We've got enough people that are just fine with letting them pass, just taking it easy. We've got enough people that don't want to take any chances, just want to keep the car clean. We've got enough motherfucking people. Out of the 36 goddamn people on the track, 35 of them are like that. Can we have one that's a little bit different? Can we have one that doesn't care about the bill that the team has to accrue with whatever damage is done? Can we have one person that gives a fuck enough that they're going to do anything and everything it takes to try to win? Can we have one? Or is that too much to ask for? And again, this whole idea of like, well, it's going to cost the team a bunch of money and blah, 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 blah. It's like, all right, well, then you just want the sport to die. If you want to shut that out and you want to just squeeze it to where it's just not allowed to exist anymore, where nobody who is interesting or different or cool or charismatic in any way, shape, or form, or fun to watch. God forbid somebody's fun to watch. God forbid somebody's different. God forbid somebody takes a chance. I mean, this car isn't conducive for us to see naturally close racing, so we've got to have somebody who forcefully does interesting things and aggressive things to try to make these races interesting. Because if you don't got a guy like Carson out there and it's just a bunch of guys riding around, being okay with being behind the guy in front of them, if that's what you want this sport to be, then fine. We can just kill this thing dead now. We can just shoot this thing in the head now and just be over with it and stop wasting our time. Because as it has been a constant discussion on this show, this thing is in a slow, steady decline year after year after year. So God forbid we try to find somebody that can maybe slow that decline down. God forbid we try to find somebody that can make this thing last a little bit longer so we can try to enjoy this sport that we all love just a little bit longer. God forbid. But no. No, we want to shut out anything different, anything interesting, anything that might keep people around or even bring more people in. No. Let's just shoot that in the head and kill it dead. Just try to shut it out as much as we can. Do what we did to Ross. Speaking of Ross earlier, let's just do what we did to Ross, where Ross was different and more of the farmer's boy and was interesting and fast and, aggressive. And we just killed that dead. What's Ross now? Even if Trackhouse had speed, even if he did have speed, even before they lost all the fucking speed that they have now, even when they did still have speed in the cars, all of that was just drilled right out of him. It was just snuffed out to where there was nothing interesting left. There was a chance where Ross could have been just as popular, if not more popular than Carson. And it has been demolished. Any chance of that happening, it's gone. Because again, all the drivers around him peer pressured him into stopping being aggressive, peer pressured him into driving just like everybody else. Just drive like Mark Martin because Mark Martin's so interesting. Just drive like Jeff Burton because Jeff Burton was just so good. Don't drive like anybody else. Don't drive like anybody interesting. Don't try to be cool. Just be the lame duck. No one cares. Everyone found was fucking boring and revisionist history keeps them relevant. Just be like them. Let's sit here in revisionist history all those years that Denny Hamlin was fucking mid. Now because he's beating up on a bunch of people that have half the experience that he has, all of a sudden he's an all-timer. All of a sudden he's got these 63 wins in his 9th all-time, and now we got to put him on the list next to fucking Tony Stewart. Like he was anything ever close to Tony. Or he was anything ever close to Kenseth in his heyday. Or anything ever close to Jeff Gordon. Kiss my fucking ass. But again, we got to prop all these boring ass people up because reasons. Yeah, I'm done. I'm over it. I've ranted enough about this race. I could talk about Zane Smith having a good run. He had a tire failure, and that's why he got wrecked out. And the Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell wreck, which is a fucking giant pile up or a giant hit by the both of them. Bell might have a concussion because of it, and they both seemed okay, though. And I already talked about Bubba's post-race thing, so let's wrap this thing up. Top 10 from last week at Nashville. This is going to be a different top 10. I will at least say that. Top 10 from last week at Nashville. Tyler Reddick was 1, Denny Hamlin 2, Chase Briscoe 3, Chase Elliott 4, Christopher Bell was 5, Ryan Blaney was 6, Ty Gibbs was 7, SVG was 8, Kyle Larson was 9, and Michael McDowell was 10. I'm going to take a drink here before I say this. Number 10 for this week, Carson Hocevar. Had himself a hell of a run. Was up to second there at the end. Had speed for most of the race. Still ended up with a top 5, I believe, or just outside top 5. Still a good finish. Still had speed. So I bump him into the top 10. Although I have to put somebody brand new that I did not expect to put in my top 10 this week at number 9. Number 9 is Eric Jones. Has found speed these last 2 weeks. I don't know how long this is going to last, but second place this past weekend at Michigan. Hard to ignore that. Plus the decent finish last week at Nashville Super Speedway. He's all of a sudden found some speed out of nowhere in that 43 car. And it's the one Legacy Motor Club car that I guess can find some good speed here pretty consistently. Number 8 is Kyle Larson. Same kind of thing, just kind of mid compared to where you expect him to be. Had himself a decent enough run, but they just can't seem... They have enough speed every week to run top 3 or top 5 or top 7. Not enough to like really be a car that you fully expect to just compete for the win. So yeah, I got to put him at 8. He's stuck at 8 for right now. 7 is Ty Gibbs, still again, good enough to be in the top 10. Just kind of running where he's normally been. Number 6, Ryan Blaney, same thing. Running where he's normally been. It's kind of just, I mean, this top 10 is really kind of stuck with a lot of the same guys. 5 is Christopher Bell, again. Same kind of thing. 4 is Chase Briscoe, again. Same kind of thing. Running the same kind of spots that he normally does. Running up towards the front usually. Not enough this past weekend to really punish him too badly, I feel like. Number 3 is Chase Elliott. Again, running up towards the front. Could have had a better finish. Had some decent speed before he got wrecked out with Christopher Bell. This is where it gets different. I finally had to make a move. Number 2 is Tyler Reddick. First time Tyler Reddick all season long for the last 16 weeks. For the last 4 months, Tyler Reddick has been number 1 on my power rankings. It's the first time I could justifiably say that he is not number 1. Even with his 5 wins, kind of falling off on speed this last week. Yeah, the wreck wasn't totally his fault. But even like these last how many weeks, he's just kind of finished near the top 5 or just outside the top 5. And I've got to put at number 1, Denny Hamlin. Won the last 2 weeks. This past weekend at Michigan, at the end of the race, the gigantic gap that he got on the field, what was it, 10 plus seconds by the end of the race. It was, that team has the most speed. And again, it's hard to argue, but if there's anybody right now that you'd have to make a championship favorite, it's Denny. You know, he's been in these chase positions before. He's been the most consistently fastest person over the last X amount of years. with them moving off the playoff system and into the chase, that 10-week stretch that he can do pretty well over is going to, I think, be enough of an attrition factor to probably give him the championship this year. He's only 50-some points back. I think it's 57 or 51 or something like that behind Tyler Reddick. He'll get some more wins as the season goes on. He's again shown more consistent speed, even though the last 2 weeks, again, he's had the pole and then had to go to the back and then run back through the field. And this is why it's like, okay, that's tough. Of having the pole like at Nashville, restart violation, having to go to the back and then spend the rest of the race working your way back up through the field just to get back to the front and win. To do the same thing again at Michigan, get the pole, have to change some things in the car, so then he has to start at the back again, work his way back up through the field again, but this time win in like dominant fashion by the end. It's impossible for me to not put him at number one. So we have a new number one at the top 10. First time, like I said, over the entire 16 previous weeks, we have a brand new number one. So that being said, I'm going to wrap this thing up. I appreciate everybody for listening. I hope you all enjoyed this show. Seems like every week I'm complaining about the same people and the same things, but when it's the same people and the same things talking, it's kind of hard to not talk about them. I appreciate everybody again for listening. I hope you all enjoy. Appreciate all of the dedicated followers and listeners of the show. You all know who you are. I appreciate you, as always. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when the show goes up. But if you don't want to hit the notification bell, it is every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, in the morning. Not in the afternoon, not in the evening, but in the morning. We'll be back again same time next week following the happenings of Pocono. Hopefully some more newsworthy stuff comes out of Pocono. Hopefully it'll be a good race. Should be interesting. Probably Denny Hamlin will... Pocono's Denny Hamlin show. As far as I remember, it's one of his favorite tracks, so do not be surprised if he three-peats here and wins again here next week. They are on a roll, so we'll see what happens, though. And again, like I said, we'll see you all next week. Take it easy.